my beautiful souls. Welcome to another episode of my video talk show on Living Naturally with Michaela Live, where we talk about all things for living a naturally healthy life. I'm Michaela, the mind body connection specialist, and today we're exploring a deeply healing topic, the art of letting go. So April is Stress Awareness Month. So we're going to be diving into how movement and creativity can help us release long held stress and emotions, especially the kind that lives deep in our bodies. Joining me today is the incredible Marian Egan, a holistic practitioner, intuitive artist, and creator of Heart Art Magic Healing Card Decks. Marianne brings decades of experience in guiding people through transformation using creative, soulful practices. And together we'll explore the powerful combination of somatic awareness and intuitive art for emotional release and nervous system regulation. So, welcome, Marianne. I am so happy to have you here with me again.
And I'm very happy to be here with you, Michaela. Thank you for inviting me.
So, for those of you who may be tuning in for the first time, Marianne is one of my recurring guests, and we usually will have chats, usually along the lines of emotions and healings and creativity and that sort, on the second Friday of each month. So you can catch Marianne and I on the second Friday of each month chatting about these topics, and of course, I have other guests on other weeks, so you can also tune into those as well. Before we get started, Marianne, would you like to pull a card for us to set the intention for our show?
Absolutely. Let me do that. So the intention is releasing stress through movement and creativity. And the card is intuitively chosen, and it's called Enlightened Forest.
Ooh.
And it says, as you enter this forest, you can dream of your future wants and desires as you become enlightened within. Take your time and visit as often as you want and live your dream into reality. All becomes yours. Assume it and claim it. Imagine that you already are what you want to be and you already have what you want to have. So this is the Enlightened Forest. And this is the message and the frequency number.
Awesome. Thank you. I love how your cards always seem to align with what we're talking about. And so for those of you who again may be tuning in for the first time, Marianne created these healing card decks. She has more than one. She created these healing card decks, and they can be used for all kinds of things, for inspiration for the day. They can be used for journaling. They can be used for inner reflection, all kinds of different things. And one of the things I love about her card decks is that she also includes frequency numbers. And those of you who have listened to me talk before, you know that I love the frequency and sound healing and frequency healing and things of that nature, and frequencies and numbers and those kinds of things. So I love that she combines all of those elements into a singular type of resource that you can use in so many different ways. So thank you, Marianne, for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank
All
you.
right. So let's go ahead and let's get started. First, let's talk a little bit about understanding stress as stored energy. So I know this may be, an interesting new way of looking at this, but stress isn't just a mental load. Okay, it is stored in the body, and it needs safe ways to be expressed. When we're under chronic stress, we don't just think stress, we hold it. And the body remembers what the mind forgets. Okay, so there's a great book that's called The Body Keeps the Score that I highly recommend. I recommend it to many of my clients because it helps you to understand that the things that we feel, they get stored in our bodies. So it's not just in the mind, it's actually in the body. And it's no different than stress. And one of the ways that you can recognize stress in the body, is, things like tight muscles or, tight fascia, um, shallow breaths, just tension in the body. You think about things like sometimes, you can be sitting and you're so stressed out that your neck and your shoulders just hurt. That is ways that stress is showing up, that is being stored in different parts of the body. Those are easy ways for you to recognize that stress that's being stored. And we'll talk a little bit more later about, those types of cues, but I want you to just kind of understand that stress is more than mental. It is energy, and it gets stored in the body. So there are different types of practices. I personally like a lot of different somatic type of practices that helps bring awareness into the conscious body, which is where we're going to go next with this conversation, because awareness is the first step in order to be able to release all of that stored, pent up stress energy. So, Marianne, can you tell us a little bit about how intuitive art helps us to access, what words cannot express, what is
Mm.
stored in the body? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, just as you were speaking, I had this vision of, a pressure cooker. Do you ever see the pressure cooker?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It comes up to a point where the steam just goes off, right?
Yeah.
And when sometimes when you see somebody that's really under extreme stress, they just blow a fuse. I mean,
Mm,
the body is unable to take any more. It's like total overload, and you just let it out. But that's not a good, it's good to let it out, but it's not good to let it get that far. And as you say, it's all stored in the body. But there
yeah.
are two types of stress. Like there's distress, where it's, you've got negative feelings, as you say, pain in your body. That's your body is talking to you. Your body
Hmm.
is saying, it's body talk, and it's saying, can you have a look at this? This is just not right. And then there's eustress, which is a driver. And the eustress is a good stress, because there are times when you do need a little bit of stress to motivate. So that little bit of stress, the eustress, is the motivator, it's the driver, and it's energizing. It's the total opposite of distress. So, when we're challenged, and we all need challenges at times to drive, to thrive, because, challenges, like when I look at what I've been doing for the last number of weeks, I've had so many challenges within the last couple of, number of weeks, that I've actually, every time I've just gone and I've painted it out.
Yeah.
I literally just did, okay, go paint, because the pain with the tension on the end, T on the end of pain is paint. So I go paint, and that's my form of verbalizing without having to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a great way of releasing, but I'm lucky insofar as that I can do that. And the other way, which we've mentioned many times, I create, I knit, or I crochet, or they're my things, they're my go-to stress
Yeah.
relievers. But um, when we have challenges, that's a good thing too. If you look at it in a good way, you can either let challenges pull you down, or you can decide, well, hang on a second, what can I do about this? What's the most important thing for me to do when this challenge arises? And you can turn it into a positive.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how when you make that, as you say, the awareness, being aware of it, and have the awareness about it, so that you can do something positive instead of letting it drive you down. Because even in the last couple of days, there was a few challenges that I came across, and I recognized an old pattern in myself, whereas I was allowing it to make me feel under power, But because I had the awareness, I was able to change that around and say, no,
Yeah.
hang on a second, not doing this to myself anymore. Been there, done that, worn that t-shirt. So let me do something more positive instead, So I love the fact that I can paint it out, paint
Yeah.
it out, point it out, and just release it. Because every time I do that, I'm releasing it and just letting it go. And it's a wonderful way of letting go of what's bothering you, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, and it's important for people to understand too that you don't have to be a painter to do this. It can be any type of other art or creative endeavor. Okay, it just so happens that Marianne is a painter and that's what she loves to do. What is it that you would love to do that you can utilize in order to be able to express things, fully that you can't necessarily put into words? I feel like art um, gives, our bodies, um, gives the unspoken a voice, if you will, and it lets us to express things that we don't yet understand fully as well. But our subconscious and our body know what's going on, and it's deeply held. And so being able to let that go and finding ways to be able to let that go, obviously is going to be very beneficial for us. So I challenge people that are listening to this to think about how can you recognize when stress is no longer just in the mind, but it's living in your body. Okay, so I'm encouraging you to start becoming aware of what's going on in the body and what it's saying to you. As Marianne said, it's the body talking. So start listening to what the body is talking, which brings me actually to the next point, and it's about the body as a messenger and creativity as a translator. I know that sounds a little weird, but let's dive into that. So, as we were saying, the body talks to us. It's a matter of whether we're listening and if we understand what is being said. Okay, but it goes beyond that, though. Again, I stated that awareness is the first key to that, and but how do you bring about that awareness? And some of the things, like we talked, I hit on a little bit earlier about some somatic practices, and that's a big word for some of you who probably don't know what somatic is. But just think about stuff like mindful movement, or breathing exercises, those kinds of things that makes you tune inward to your body, which helps you to kind of to feel where your pain points are. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. It's those types of exercises. So trauma sensitive yoga, breathing exercises, all of those things are ways for you to become aware of how your body is speaking to you. So the body always speaks first, and through movement, we can begin to listen to its whispers before they become screams. So lots of times I will describe this as to my clients in particular, when I'm trying to help them to tune into their own bodies. It's kind of like, you have something going on in your body, and because of stress or overwhelm or whatever, you ignore it. So it starts to gently tap, 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 and you may have a very mild symptom of some sort. And if you don't listen to it, then the body starts to, knock a little louder. Knock, 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 knock. Okay. And you're still not paying attention. Your awareness isn't there. And then finally, it just kind of starts to beat the door down. And then that's when you have like major issues and chronic stress and those kinds of things. But if we had the tools and the resources and we made the effort to start listening to the whispers first, we won't get to the part where our bodies are screaming. And I know Marianne has many stories of, along this line and everything. So I am going to allow Marianne to talk a little bit about that. But I would also like for Marianne, if she would oblige us, to talk a little bit too about how because I feel like if we combine different tools, they're more effective. So I like breathing and mindful movement and those kinds of things. Marianne likes, art, expression, and those kinds of things. I think if we can combine those, they're even more effective. So, Marianne, what do you think about, like doing some sort of intuitive art or something after movement or during movement, or or moving while you're doing some sort of creative endeavor? Talk a little bit about that for us too.
Well, it's amazing when, because I've seen in my workshops where I turn on music, really boppy, happy, upbeat music while people are painting. And you can see them, bopping to the music as they're painting. And I always encourage people to paint with their hands because they're really in touch with the paint and the feel of it. And it's amazing how they will voice afterwards how good they felt because, first of all, they were moving.
Mhm.
Secondly, they were painting. Thirdly, they were using color.
Yeah.
I mean, color has a vibration and a frequency all of its own.
Yes.
Even, people recognize sometimes when you put something on, say you're going out and you put something on you and you look in the mirror and you say, oh gosh, that doesn't feel right. And you take it off and you change it and you put on another color. And it's like, okay, that's better. It's like at that time, your body is not vibrating at that frequency
Yeah.
that it needs to feel good. So color can bring you down or it can lift you up. And again, with movement, I mean, your body will move to the beat of its own drum, like even your heartbeat, even the tapping. When I'm getting people to tap the frequency numbers in, sometimes I get them to do it to a rhythm because
Hmm.
even the rhythm of the tapping has an effect for the brain heart coherence, getting the two synchronized together. So it's amazing when if you think about rituals, when you get up in the morning, you have a ritual in the morning,
Yeah.
getting dressed, brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, cleaning your skin, all of that sort of thing. Put a ritual in there for this awareness for yourself, as you say, even if it's just breathing, or while you're getting dressed and while you're brushing your teeth, turn on your favorite music so
Yeah.
that you're doing a couple of things. It's fueling you, but it's a ritual. When you get into it, it really sets you up for the day, and staying in a positive mindset because your thoughts will either lift you up or tear you down, you
Yeah.
know. If you think you can't, you're right. And if you think you can, you will. So it's being, even if you don't feel positive,
Right.
and I think I've said this before, even looking up, if you have your eyes looking up, you cannot feel down.
Right.
So that's just one thing, just look up as you're brushing your teeth, maybe. And, so put a ritual in that will start your day in the right way.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I wrote a note because when you start talking about color and wearing different colors, I I resonate with that so much. I actually use color therapy with my clients a lot too, because colors have vibrations and different colors make you feel different ways. There are different, different energies and different vibrations to them and everything. And I don't know if anybody ever noticed, but like when I do my videos, most of the time I'm wearing blue. And and for me, wearing blue helps my communication, and that makes me feel better and more communicative when I'm doing shows and stuff. And that's just one of the ways that you can use color and form and everything in your creative endeavors. For me, even doing the show is something creative. So, and I love doing the show and being able to bring information to other people, and it allows me to be creative in a different way. And so I want people to think about what creative means, because when we talk about creativity and using it as a way to express, it's not always art. Although art is a form of creativity, there are other ways to be creative as well. Not everyone's an artist. That's okay. There are other ways. Writing can be creative. Dancing can be creative. Like Marian said, it's like you turn on the music and you intuitively move to the music. That is being creative. You are being creative. So think outside the box of what creativity means, because creativity helps integrate what we feel. And it's less about making something and more about becoming present with ourselves. Okay. That's what I want you to think about. So let's talk a little bit. So we've already started talking about letting go and using movement and creativity to let things go, particularly stress, because we're talking about stress today. But let's talk about letting go without needing to fix anything. I think we all have this tendency to always want to fix whatever's going on and or figure things out. But I encourage you to shift that thinking instead of figuring it out, feeling it through. Okay? Sometimes the most healing thing we can do is just allow. Okay? Letting go isn't always an action. Sometimes it can be a soft surrender. It's not about doing anything. It's about letting it just pass through. That's one of the things that happens, is that when we're under a lot of stress and we start to feel emotions, many times it gets stuck in the body because we're not allowing it to flow through. We have a tendency to go back and try to rehash things and figure out why this is happening, why that's happening, and this, that, and the other, and it keeps us stuck in that spot. So I want to challenge you to not try to figure it out, but just acknowledge it, feel it, and let it flow through you. So what do you think about that, Marianne? I know, like, when you're working with your clients and with the painting and everything, one of the things that you try to encourage, because I try to encourage this too with my own clients, is not to think about the outcome, or you know there's a right or wrong way to do anything, but understand it's more about the process, allowing things to flow through. So can you talk a little bit about just allowing the process with no judgment, or no, releasing perfectionism and no worrying about, you know what it's supposed to be or how it's supposed to be or any of that kind of thing?
Well, I think the best present anyone can ever give themselves is the gift of the present moment, which is the
Mhm.
now. Because when you live in the now, I've said this before, when you spell now backwards, you have won.
Mhm.
So when you live in the present moment, you're winning. And then, as you say, listening to your body. Um, and if you feel something is stuck, your body knows what to do to fix things.
Yeah.
Your body knows what to do. It has an innate intelligence to do that. But sometimes we can say things like, oh, this is always happening to me, and why is this happening to me? And that stops the flow of the body, the body talk. So listen to what your body is saying.
Yeah.
In your mind, you could even imagine a tap, right? And even if you don't know how to let it flow through you so it can release, see this internal tap that you can put your hand inside your body, turn the tap so it can open up. And in your mind, you're letting the tap open to let whatever needs to flow through, to flow through you and out.
Yeah.
So the mind has it's a powerful wheelhouse. It knows where to go, where to bring you, all of that. But sometimes we stop it and block it. So step out of your own way, even if you can see yourself in your mind, stepping to the side and say, okay, body, you know what to do. I'm giving you the permission and I allow myself for the outcome that I want and allow it to happen. Just let it go and let it flow.
Yeah.
Your mind is so powerful. Let it work for you, not against you. But that's sometimes what we can do in our um, in the stressful situation. We can stop and block what wants to just flow through us, you know.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that sentiment. Again, I was writing notes as you were talking because you said about being in the now,
Yeah.
and and I love that because and I want to talk about that a little bit more here in a minute. But being in the now is probably one of the best things that we can do for ourselves, and and that's where we should live, not in the future, not in the past, but in the now. And a little bit, I'd like to talk a little bit about how in the now is where healing happens. But I'm jumping ahead, so I just wanted to let you know that I love that you brought that up, because that's going to be a significant point as we go forward with this discussion, is helping people to ground themselves. And that's one of the things about creativity and intuitive art and somatic practices and things of that nature. It brings us and grounds us to the now, what's happening now in the present. And I just like to add to that, creativity isn't meant to be judged. Okay, we talked a little bit about let go of perfectionism and just enjoy the process. It's not meant to be judged. It's a mirror of your inner world in real time. So when you're painting, or drawing, or dancing, it's what's going on right now in your inner world that is being expressed. Okay, so that's an important factor to know. So, and if, to those of you who might say, "Well, but I'm not creative or artistic," it's not about being artistic. It's not about being creative. We're all creative in some sort of way. Our minds are highly creative. Just think about the dreams that you have. Just think about the stories that you tell yourself, good or bad. And that's creativity in action. And the way that you express that creativity can change. So think about that for a moment. All right. Did you have something else you wanted to add?
What I find is, true healing begins when you don't try and fix anything, right?
Yeah,
So it just happens automatically because you and I and everybody that's listening and watching, we're breathing in, we're breathing out. The blood is circulating through our body. We don't have to think
mhm,
about that. That's our automatic system,
right.
you know. So we can put ourselves into an automatic mode of healing when we choose to, because I find even in my creative process, there's no need to analyze it. There's no correct way or there's no wrong way. It just is what it is.
Right.
And when you express how you feel, whether it's in your words, your actions, or like for me in my paintings, it when I sit back and I look at them, and it's amazing how they speak to me. And just as I was sharing with you about the painting I just did recently, success over distress, the two figures in that, one of them is upright and has the head lifted, and the other one has the shoulders slumped and the head is down. I
Yeah.
didn't even realize that until sometime afterwards when I looked at it. So again, my paintings do talk to me, and that's why I've started putting voiceovers with them so that, it gives a positive message, and it's giving the amount of wisdom that I've gained over the years, it's putting that into and putting the art together with the wisdom that comes with it and what comes and flows through me. So this gentle expression just helps to release any pent up stress, any emotional upset. And it's a great way of just being free to be me.
Yeah. And that's a very relevant point. It's the freedom to be you and
Mm.
to express your true feelings and the true essence, your authentic self. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So now let's talk a little bit about creating soulful rituals of release. Okay, I know that's a mouthful, but bear with me here. Let's think about this for a moment. So, when you think about stress, stress is fight or flight. So, our body is in this stressful tension mode, and fight or flight, in essence, is what it sounds like. It's, you're scared and you may have to run for your life. Okay, way back when, fight or flight mechanism, when you had to like run from an animal, or a predator of some sort. Modern day fight or flight, is the stressors that are around us, but our bodies don't know any different. It's still stress, it's still fight or flight, which means not safe. Okay, so when I was going through my notes about what I wanted to talk about this, a phrase came to mind. It was about fight or flight versus relaxed and safe. So that's actually where I want to go with this particular segment of the show, is the difference between having a safe environment for you to release what your body's holding on to. And this is not necessary. I'm not necessarily talking about external environment, although that can make a difference as well, because sometimes you may be in an environment that you don't feel safe in, so you hold everything inside because you just do not feel safe expressing it. But I'm talking more right now about the inner environment that allows us to let go. Okay, and this, again, since I'm I'm talking about fight or flight versus relaxed and safe. Getting out of that fight or flight mode is part of what's going to allow you to release what your body is holding on to. And in order to get out of that fight or flight mode and into a safe environment, you have to be able to relax. Okay, when the body relaxes, that's when it knows it's safe to let go. So, I want to talk about rituals of movement that can help you establish that safety. And then I'm going to allow Marianne to talk a little bit about it from the intuitive art side of things, or even maybe a card ritual that can allow the body to relax to the point that it can release all of this emotional stuff, this stress, this tension that it's holding on to. Since I'm more of the mind body type and movement and things, that's the reason why I come at it from that particular standpoint. And again, I was talking about somatic stuff earlier. Again, that's might be a big word for some of you, but just think about it in terms of things like mindful movement, or breath work, that kind of things. Those There are many types of breath work that you can do that allows the body to relax. Even things as simple as just being able to sit quietly and to just pay attention to your breathing, whether you're doing any type of counting breath or anything like that, that allows your body to relax. Just think about how, if you're sitting and you're relaxing, and when you start, your shoulders are so tense, but then as you start to relax, your shoulders start to loosen and they start to drop. That's what we're talking about. That's about putting the body into a relaxed state where it's safe to let go all of this stuff that is holding on. This is the thing too, where like music can help with that. I know a lot of people, they're able to achieve great emotional release through music. I'm actually one of those. I love music, different types of music at different times of the day and different times of my life have helped me to be able to relax, and let go of what was inside. I run the gambit of, putting on 80s music that I can bop around the house to classical music that has very precision timing and mathematical, genius to it, because in essence, I am a very analytical person as well. And so sometimes I find listening to certain composers allows me to release as well when I find that I'm in a more analytical state and I just kind of need to, let go of all the structure, if you will. So think about things like that you can do that can help your body relax in order to be released. And it can be anything from breath to exercising to stretching, or one of my other favorites is shaking. You think about dogs, it's like they just kind of go and they just shake it. Try it, shake yourself. They call it, some people call it shaking like a tree. There's actually, a movement that is named after you. You don't have to worry about any type of named or structured anything. Just intuitively move. Your body knows what it needs. Your body will tell you what it needs. But you just have to stop trying to control everything, stop trying to fix everything, stop trying to figure out everything, and just let it go. So, Marianne, what would you have to say about this?
Okay, well, in my opinion, rituals give, structure to healing. It's a sacred space
Yeah.
for your body to, relax and realign. For me, taking my cards, I do that on a daily basis. The first thing after I get up in the morning, I go take out my journal and I'll set my intention for the day. And I will put in, whatever is on my agenda for the day, I'll put that in, but I'll also put in how I want to feel.
Mm,
And I'll write that in. And then I'm so lucky that I have got the cards that I created, that I can choose the cards. And from my digital card decks now as well, which I'm using, the one I'm using right now at the moment is the Skinny Mini Me deck, which is, the latest one that I've created. And that's my course is based on that. But I'm so lucky that I can choose a card and then the positive message, not only is it the image of the card, but the positive message that goes with the card. And then the frequency number, because what you were talking about earlier about the fight flight, when you're in that fight flight mode, your body is running the cortisol hormone,
mhm.
which is getting you ready to run and
Yeah.
keep you safe. So in order to switch that off, using the frequency numbers literally stops that circuitry running.
Yeah.
And thereby the theta, the alpha, delta, gamma vibration and frequencies start to come in, which allow the serotonin, the dopamine, the oxycontin, and oxytocin come into the body,
Yeah.
which will actually automatically release and relax the muscles, the body, the brain. And it's a beautiful feeling. It's like that feeling of, that feeling you get just before you drop off to sleep. You're
Mm,
just
yeah.
drifting and you're dropping and your body's going into that relaxed state.
Yeah.
So like for many years I lived in this, tense, tight body because I was in fight flight mode for a lot of my life.
Yeah.
And now that I'm not, these soulful rituals are amazing. But what I do find, Michaela, is that the frequency numbers that I use are so instant. They are so instant and they work so quickly. And that's what I love about what I do. So that's my soulful ritual. And
Awesome.
that helps to align the body and the brain.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And that's another thing. Ritual, that's another big word I think for a lot of people. And I have another guest that we often will talk about rituals, and we help people to, because we want to have information and tools accessible to everyone. Ritual can be one of those words that can be very big for some people, and they, because they think of rituals as more of, stuff that's like religious and things of that nature. But I want to encourage you that if you're listening to this and the word ritual brings some resistance for you, or you have a hard time with that word, think of it more of a practice or a habit. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. Yes, rituals can be sacred for some people, but it's more about establishing a routine, a habit that is going to allow you to be able to get your body to the relaxed state where you're not holding on to that. As Marianne was talking about how she uses her cards every morning, that's her ritual. For someone else, it could be a habit that you can establish, a routine that you can establish. As she mentioned earlier, it's like you get up, you have a routine where you wash your face, you brush your teeth, or whatever. Add in something too that is going to allow your body to be in a relaxed state where it doesn't hold on to all of the stress and everything. Something, as simple as, as Marianne does, with the card, pulling a card for the day, that gives you some encouragement, tap in a frequency number. If that's not for you, how about you're going to sit quietly, in your bed and determine what your intention is for the day before you get out of bed. So when you get your day going, you've already established your intention. And once you establish your intention, the rest of your day will go where you set your intention. So those are like different types of things that you can do that will allow your body to get out of this heightened fight or flight state. And yes, doing something, first thing in the morning can be beneficial because there are many people who wake up stressed. I mean, it's just the fact of life, for some people. So just think along those lines. I encourage you to to think outside the box. Don't get stuck on the word, whether it's, you know, ritual or it's creative. Don't get stuck on the words. Okay? That's what I want you to do. I want you to think outside the box. Even a few quiet minutes with color or some sort of symbolism, something that, symbolizes happiness for you can shift you from chaos to clarity. Okay. We want to get out of the chaos. We want to be able to have clear, this is what's going on. This is what I want. Let your body release all of that stuff that it's holding on to. Which brings me to our next point, which is the power of the present moment in healing. So we talked a little bit about this already. So now we're going to go in a little bit deeper. And this is about being in the moment, being in the now. Okay? Because healing doesn't happen in the past or the future, it happens right here in the now. That's where our body lives, and that's where freedom lives too. So we need to stop thinking about the past and rehashing all of that or worrying about the future because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We need to be able to ground ourselves in the now. And that's where these practices come in. They can anchor us in the present moment, it can ground us right here, right now, which is where we let go of the stuff that is, pent up in our bodies. And since we're talking about stress still, I do a lot of work with stress. I teach a lot about the perils of chronic stress because the root of most modern disease is chronic stress. When you don't deal with it and you let it go on and on and on, it leads to symptoms. Symptoms lead to disease. So just being able to get yourself out of these extended stress modes can do wonders, wonders for your physical health. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to spend some time this month for Stress Awareness Month talking about stress and things that we can do to help our bodies to let go of that stress and heal from that stress. So I'm going to let Marianne take over this part because I love hearing about the flow state and a lot of what she does with her intuitive art is about encouraging people to get into this flow that allows these emotions and these energies and everything to come out in whatever they're drawing or they're painting or whatever. So, Marianne, why don't you take over this part of the conversation and tell us a little bit about the flow state and how intuitive, art helps us, slow down and, deepen our presence and all of that good stuff.
Well, it's amazing when you mentioned the word now again, like living in the present moment in the now. So I would encourage anybody who's listening or looking to write down the word now. As I said earlier, when you spell it backwards, you've won. So you're in a winning state. And then when you rearrange those letters again, you own it. So here's the magic thing. When you own it, it means you can do something about it. Okay. And this is now you were talking about intuitive. So just as you were speaking, I got the intuition and the inspiration to pull another card, which I've done. Okay. So
Okay.
the card I pulled is called Mindset Breakthrough, right? So listen to this, and it goes very well with what we're talking about. When your head and your heart are aligned for the outcome that you want, go for it. Your brain is the conductor and your body is the orchestra. When you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. You give life to it when you decide on it, act on it, and live it. And the most powerful outcome can be yours when you trust your gut and go for what you truly desire and want. Just do it. It may be life-changing. Now, it's interesting that I pulled this card because this card actually was the day I painted this. Was one of my clients who had been going through a cancer journey. And after doing the card deck course with me for herself, the pain that she was in went away. And the wonderful thing, Michaela, was that she did it herself using the cards and the frequencies. When she put the frequencies into her body, the pain stopped, which is what I was talking about earlier. And I did this painting out of pure and utter gratitude for her getting the all clear from the hospital when she went back for her visit. So you were saying about, owning it, being in the present, in the now. If you take this message, your brain is the conductor. That means in your mind, you can see yourself, if you are in some sort of distress and pain, discomfort, overwhelm, see yourself as if you can conduct your own orchestra. And in your mind, go back to a time in your mind when you didn't have the overwhelm, when you didn't have the distress, the dis-ease, whatever it is that's going on in your body right now. Go back to that time because your body, or your brain does not know. It cannot lie to you. If you can see wellness in your head and you can see activity in your head and you can see yourself moving, as you said, to nice music or painting as I do intuitively, just with my hands, your brain has no idea that you're stressed out or stuck or blocked or stopped. And this is the letting go. So own it. So when you own it, you can do something about it. And when you're living in the now, you're a winner. You're in that winning mode, So have a vision of what you do want in your head. Don't have the vision of what may be happening right now in your body. Imagine magic mindset breakthrough. And this is the frequency number. If anybody wants to use the frequency number to shut off the fight flight, it's 123 331 123. And tap that number into your system and watch the magic happen and watch the mindset break through for what you no longer want in your life or in your body.
I love that. I love that. Thanks for sharing that with us. And again, I've talked about Marianne's cards and the frequency numbers, and that's one of the things I love about the cards that she created, is because it does combine the frequency numbers and that those frequencies are additional tools that we can use to help our bodies to be able to release and to get into, to create the shifts that we need at any given time for different reasons or for different situations or another. Being able to use that as an additional tool that we can use that doesn't require a whole lot of effort, if you will. It's just as
Mm.
simple as we're just going to tap these numbers in. So so I encourage you guys, to take a look, at that, But we're going to move on. So basically, we were talking about how, being in the present moment. Stop worrying about and stop rehashing the past and stop worrying about the future and start grounding yourself in the present, because that is where the healing happens. This is where the body lives. So one of the and this just kind of came up to me, one of the other tools that I love using is and because we were talking about the numbers and everything, is tapping. I love tapping. Some people call it EFT, that kind of thing. I love tapping. And one of the ways that tapping helps is that when you begin to tap, your opening statement is always about bringing yourself in the now. So, for instance, one of the opening statements for something would be, even though I feel such and such, you know, um, I accept it, and I love and accept myself, that kind of thing. And what that does is it acknowledges what you're feeling and it grounds you in the present and allows you to open up that flow that is going to be able to allow you to release whatever it is the second part of your tapping is going to do. So that's just another tool, but it's kind of the same thing. So it's about grounding yourself in the present, because that's where the healing is. That's where you can let go of all the stuff that your body is holding on to, all of that stuck energy, all of that stuck emotion, all of that stuck stress that is holding you hostage in this fight or flight mode that will inevitably contribute to some sort of chronic issue. Let it go. You do not need to hold on to that. Okay. In the present, we stop performing and we start listening. And that's where the shift begins. So, today, we've explored about how movement and creativity can become powerful tools to release stuck emotions, reconnect with ourselves, and soften the grip of stress. And I'd like to invite you guys to think about this. If there's something your body has been holding on to, what if you didn't have to fix it, but you just had to let it be seen, felt, and expressed? Just need to acknowledge it, let it move through you, and move on. What if it was just as simple as that? Hmm? So, we are coming to the end of our time. So, Marianne, I'm going to let you have the final thought. What is one message or affirmation or statement or whatever that you'd like to leave, our viewers and listeners with about letting go through creative expression?
Okay, so firstly, what you worry about, you will bring about because you're in that line, you're attracting whatever it
Right.
is you're worried about, you're going to attract it to you. So you need to shut that down. And again, if you write out the word listen, LISTEN, rearrange the letters, they can spell silent. So
Yes.
when you are silent and you're listening to what your body is trying to tell you, then you can, as I say, your brain being the conductor, your body the orchestra, you can design and plan what it is you want. So you could start by Well, what is it you do not want? Start with that first and say, okay, let that go and let that out of my life. I'm not going to entertain that anymore. This is what I want. I want peace. I want contentment. I want ease. And you said earlier, like, I deeply, profoundly love, honor, accept, and respect myself.
Yes.
Just even saying those things to yourself, you are acknowledging that you do deeply love, honor, respect, and accept yourself, and give yourself permission for your body to allow whatever is no longer serving you. If it's
Yeah.
not serving you, it's holding you back.
All right.
Give your body the permission to allow it to go. And you can just literally say, stop. I'm not doing this to myself anymore. I am not entertaining this anymore. This is the end. If your body's not healthy, where are you going to live?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Marianne.
You're welcome.
We've come to the end of our time. If this episode spoke to you, we'd love to hear what it brought up for you. Feel free to comment and share your experience. And thank you to those who have already commented. And we really appreciate you coming in and sharing your story with us. And feel free to also subscribe and stay connected with us. You can find more of our shows here on this channel that you're watching at on YouTube at Living Naturally with Michaela, or you can also go and listen to some shows on Marianne's channel at Marianne Egan Transformation Health. Is that correct? Yes,
That's correct. Yep.
Transformation Health. So we have lots of good stuff for you. There are lots of tools that you can use, and I encourage you to come back to this if you need to, and see what resonated with you, and see what type of ritual or practice that you can put into place that will help your body to relax and let go of, as Marianne says, all the things that no longer serve you. Because if they're not serving you, you don't need to hold on to them. So let them go. And I challenge you to let them go without trying to fix it, without trying to figure out why, and just make a decision to let it go. One of the things that I tell my clients a lot when I'm dealing with them, I give them this affirmation for them to utilize when they find themselves start, repeating things. And it's, I release anything and everything that no longer serves me. So I ask you, what no longer serves you? And what are you going to do to release it? All right, so that is it for today's show. Thank you so much for joining us. Please come back again. Subscribe to both of our channels to stay connected. And until next time, remember, wellness isn't a destination, it's your daily journey. Bye.
Bye bye.
This episode is brought to you by Living Naturally for Life and Heart Art Magic. Comment, like, subscribe.